Greetings, Dr. Powell. My name is William Dickerson. I'm a graduate student of Southern University's business program. My major is supply chain with a minor in human resources. Today I'm going to discuss Chapter 8, segmenting and targeting markets. I read through this observation of this chapter over the week, a little bit by little bit, and I basically understood exactly what they were talking about with targeting markets. I can reflect in personal business. I also can look at certain commercials that I see on TV. I also could see how certain brands and certain, I guess you could say, certain products, certain industries market towards certain type of people. First thing I want to discuss from this is the market. Market is people or organization needs or wants of certain people and the ability to get these needs or wants to these certain type of people. These certain type of people have a willingness to buy. And what I got from this segment of the chapter is certain people will have a comfort value, a comfortness, or they will not have a knack to not feel bad to go inside a store and spend $500-$600 on things they didn't plan on spending. It doesn't have anything to do with race. It doesn't have anything to do with a certain type of, I guess, target income value. It's just whatever in this person's mind that will have them to the point where they can just say, okay, today I'm going to spend a certain amount of money. Or when they walk into the store, they just start putting stuff in the basket. And I notice certain companies target themselves towards these type of individuals. These type of individuals will not think of bills, necessities, or anything they have to do outside of that store at that time. I guess it makes them feel good to have the opportunity to grab whatever they want and put inside a basket. That can go further by describing these type of people as people that no matter what type of income they have, they will have 30-40% of disposable of that income, where they will not invest money, they will not save anything, they will spend it, they will give it to someone else. I think a lot of companies in certain industries target their brands towards these type of individuals. I could say one offhand is like the cell phone industry. The cell phone industry will come up with a phone, it will have a new type of gadget to it, and those type of people won't mind spending $1,500-$1,600 on a cell phone. And the cell phone that they have at the time is perfectly working. It's capable of doing everything they needed to do. However, they decided that at this time and point, I'm going to spend money even if I don't have the money. And I notice a lot of companies also cater to these type of people by making payment plans on things that never did have a payment plan, i.e. purchases. And I could see if it was a necessity purchase, but it's simple things such as going in Walmart and wanting to buy something that you couldn't have and you could pay for it every week. It's kind of like back in the 70s and 80s when people would finance things and the guy would come to their house and get a little payment from them, almost like an insurance type of person. Well, it's almost like that in a fancy version. So I think certain markets target certain type of people. And as I say again, it doesn't have anything to do with race. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It's just a certain type of mindset that certain people have, that where I will spend whatever I have to make myself feel comfortable. And if I have to put myself in a certain situation, it doesn't matter, because I want to look a certain way. I want to look like I have a certain financial income coming in that people might not know I don't have. As long as people think I have it, then I'll be successful in their eyes. So I think a lot of companies market themselves onto people's willingness to buy, people's willingness to live in poverty, people's willingness to not think about what's going to go further or what's going to connect to them further down the road, or 3 weeks from now, if say they don't get a payment, they're in a bad situation. So I believe that sharing one's ideas, I think a lot of these companies pay certain marketing people, marketing executives to come up with ideas, come up with plans where people give out fruitful knowledge for these businesses and don't know that they're actually giving out fruitful knowledge to these businesses to prepare these businesses on how to market themselves, i.e. certain social media sites where they pay people to just follow people, what they do, what type of things they have in their house. When they go on live, they're watching their lives. And if you notice you're a social media person, you'll find some person that doesn't have anything to do with you trying to connect with your social media. It might be an executive or some company that's paying people to just watch you because you're a part of that demographic and they want to try to reach and tap into that demographic. Another thing is market segmentation, the process of dividing a market into meaningful, relatively similar, identifiable segments of a group. And a prime example of that would be a vehicle. Harley Davidson, Chevrolet. Let's go on Chevrolet. Chevrolet is a brand that's been around for quite some time. I would say since early 20s. Chevrolet has a brand that's marketed to many different walks of life. You have LGMC. This is a Chevrolet. And this is a brand. This truck can be marketed to many different people. It's an older truck. It was built in the 80s. However, it's still prevalent today. It's still prevalent with older white men, younger white men in the rural countries, younger black urban men, older black men, some even to females. And with these subcultures, Chevrolet has an older vehicle that they don't deal with anymore, but it's still getting segmentation into their market. And how it is, it's a subculture, and with it being a subculture, people still see their brand. And when they see that brand, they see that bow tie, they recognize Chevrolet. So they'll spend money in redoing that truck, putting new items into that truck so they could bring it around subcultures. People that identify with the same thing that they identify and the things that make them feel good, and they could take that subculture and promote it onto their new culture. So their vehicles now might not be the same quality like that 1984 Chevy was. At 2021, it's all computers, plastic. It's not a solid truck. They don't plan on that truck lasting past the 70 months that people financed that truck for. However, people will see that product and they will like, I want that product. I want to connect with that brand, Chevy. And they had so many different type of, you could say, marketing campaigns from that time. I remember as a young kid, they had a marketing campaign called Like a Rock. Chevy's Like a Rock. And they won't say that now because their product is not like a rock. They don't last long. So basically, market segmentation means they will use subcultures. They will move things that will divide certain parts of their market and benefit themselves with it. Coca-Cola is another brand that does that. Coca-Cola have one brand, and they took that one brand and created and bought other products and brought it into their business line, brought it into their product line, their business model, and pushed it. And they started by working on the individuals that work there. They practiced market segmentation, where they segmented the market with that product, with that brand, Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola. People realized the brand was important, and they thought about the brand. So when they had a drink, they were looking for Coca-Cola. People bought Powerade. When Powerade came out, they was like, why are they wasting their time trying to compete against Gatorade? Powerade. Then they had Dasani water. Then they had Life water and the other brands that they had. All these other vitamin waters and other different brands, teas, and now they have another power drink. So they segmented the market. Their idea was like, we're not trying to take other people's product. We're not going to go into the East Coast and take Pepsi. We're going to stay with our brand, but we're going to segment the market. We're going to saturate the market so fully that you won't realize that we're there even when you don't see us. When you don't notice us, you look on the back of that brand that you're drinking, oh, Coca-Cola. So market segmentation is practiced perfectly like Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola almost failed with it because they were actually like the first ones that actually did it, and not noticing that they really was anticipating on doing it, but they practiced it and they did it. Marketers segment markets for 3 reasons. Those 3 reasons are to enable marketers to identify groups of customers with similar needs, wants, and values, study buying behaviors by those certain people that they're segmenting, Prime example, Nike with Jordan. They segment their customers every 2 or 3 months. They'll drop a shoe. 2 years later, they'll drop the same shoe with a different color design, different theme to it, but it's the same shoe. Segmenting the market, they will never dilute the market. The market will never die for them. They'll always have a market to come back to. So segmenting the market is for that. It provides marketers with information to help them design other things that they could sell to that same market, specifically match characteristics of the people that buy from them, desires of the buyers, wants of the buyers, what type of cars that the buyers buy. Marketers will take that and say, well, the guys that drive up to buy those Nikes, they like these type of cars. So I'm going to push my product, my marketing brand on these type of people that make these cars, because these people have money and we want to get their money. And marketers think like that. They don't stop at one thing. They try to get the full circle of the idea. Segmentation provides marketers with information to help them design marketing mixes specifically for those type of people, specific characteristics, desires, and segments. So consistent work in that marketing concept of satisfying the customer's wants and needs is very important. You have to have the customer fully satisfied, fully committed to you. So Nike does a good brand with that. Nike has many different shoes. Nike also has outlets where people that like shoes could just go and walk and find shoes that they didn't want. Then you have resellers that resell these shoes. So these subcultures segment the market for Nike. And Nike does a great job of market segmentation also. It's substantiability, identifiability, measurability, accessibility, and responsiveness to the market. A lot of companies have good ideas and they don't move fast on them, but some companies move real fast on them and they identify the market and tap into it. However, it bit Nike because the CEO had to resign because her son, while his mother was the CEO of Nike, he was reselling the brand. So it's kind of like he was taking out the house before he put into the house. Well, the mother was, and it caused a bad look for Nike. They fixed that problem, and they haven't been moving on the brands as fast as they usually do. But I think they're researching their market right now, as just from looking at the market, because sometimes I do like to watch that as a hobby when I do have time. So they haven't put out a lot of shoes due to the coronavirus and all that. I think right now, me personally, they're trying to reinvestigate a way to find a way to get into the market. Market segmentation also works in a bad way sometimes. I've seen companies like Sony have put out a product that they can't provide for the customer, the needs and wants of the customer. They have a bunch of accessories for a PS5 and nobody can find a PS5. It's basically at the will of a reseller. So it's not like you can walk up to the store, purchase a PS5, go home and open it up. And I think that really has hurt the Sony brand. Sony doesn't have the power to put up the want that their customer desires from them. They have certain type of segmentation basis also, characteristics of individuals, groups, of organizations, and they divide the market into certain segments. Geographical information, geographical segmentation, such as I could go back to the vehicles. In certain regions as the South, the vehicles are customized a certain way. Even companies will customize brand new vehicles for certain regions of the country. Back in the day, they had a Good Times van, and that was something that was sold in the South because people had families and they would travel far and wide to meet families. So they would make customized vans that were comfortable for people to ride long stretches of the highway. Brands use ideas like this constantly to grow. They grow their brand by doing things like that. Okay, Cadillac did it. They would see guys customizing brand new cars. They said, wow, we could do that and knock the middleman out, and they did it. From black men in the 70s taking Cadillacs and customizing brand new cars, putting certain type of paint jobs on it, certain type of hues to the paint job. Cadillac came up with an idea to do that. That's called market segmentation in a certain area, geographical area. Demographic segmentation. A lot of companies studied the demographics of their clientele base, age, gender, income, life cycle, family's life cycle, age segmentation. They notice that people that's in their 50s and 60s are not going to buy brand new vehicles, but you have 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds that'll buy brand new vehicles. And one automobile company that is doing that and doing it fondly is Dodge. Dodge has a vehicle where they noticed a lot of kids in the pandemic was buying them, and it was the Charger Scat Pack. It's a very powerful vehicle. It has the big engine like the SRT Charger. However, it doesn't have all the other features, but it's accessible and affordable for a young person. And if you ever go in certain areas like Atlanta, you'll see all young kids doing donuts, going down the highway, fast speeds. That's a geographical segmentation that Dodge took advantage of. Dodge realized that we have a vehicle that we could not press up a bunch of these vehicles and make them very like nostalgic, but no, let's come out with a bunch of these Hellcats and SRT Chargers and let them saturate the market, so there's so much of them that even though people might not be like, wow, I see them all the time, it's like, wow, I'm going to get me one too. So they segmented the market and they took over the sports car realm. You see more of them everywhere than any other sports car besides Ford. And mainly Ford is one that segments the market where their name speaks for themselves and they just press out cars. Gender segmentation. Certain vehicles or certain things are pushed to certain genders. It's very seldom that you see females driving those Hemis. However, they are pushed towards males and certain type of demographic of males. Income segmentation also. Some groups will study certain people and be like, this person will spend their last dollar because they come from a certain segmentation. Their income is a certain base. And a lot of these marketing companies realize that certain individuals that have high incomes believe in not spending their money. They will save their money. How people of lower incomes will spend their money to live up to those people in those higher incomes. So they study things like that. Ethnic segmentation. A lot of brands, a lot of markets will divide themselves into certain ethnic groups, i.e. alcohol brands. Alcohol brands very seldom try to expand their brand. Hennessy will not go to Trump supporters. Hennessy will come to the black supporters because they know their brand, they know their niche. And another thing a lot of companies study is niche. Niche is very important with people. It's important with these marketers. They want to stay into their niche. They don't want to get outside their niche because they might not hit what they want to hit, and it might also hurt their market. So they try to stay within their niche. Personalities and motives, lifestyles are very important. Neighborhood lifestyles are very important with certain brands. Certain companies know their product might not be the best product for the overall community, but because of money and capitalism, they will focus on that lifestyle brand, i.e. Hennessy, i.e. Old English beer, 8 Balls. Certain things are marketed to certain people, certain races, because that company knows that's their market base. They're not going to differ from their market base. They're going to stay with their market base. And basis for segmenting business is very important. 4 brand segments is producers, resellers, government, and institutions. And we spoke about it a little bit with resellers. I.e. you can look at Sony PlayStation. There's no PlayStations to buy. So resellers have created their own niche in a market where they can sell a product that comes from the store that they find, and they get it before you get there, and they'll make $300-400 profit. So you'll spend for something you could buy at the store for $500, but because you can't find it in the store, you're willing to spend $1,100 to $1,200 for that product. The buying process is sometimes another thing that companies have to deal with. They contact familiar suppliers. Sometimes it hurts them. Sony, that's the prime example. They can't find the products to supply what they need to get to the demand that they have, and it's hurting their business. They destroyed the segment of their business. They studied their business, but their business is so wide it's out of control. I don't think they really have control of the business, the plan of it. Maybe they have a plan. We don't know. That's very secretive. Their company is based out of Japan, so a lot of their culture and their values is different. They're very secretive, whereas an American company would be upfront and forthcoming with people telling them what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, and what their plan is. They won't tell people. They're very secretive. So if you study the market, if you study Wall Street, if you do investments, that's a very important thing to know. What a company does, how they target their market, what's their plans. But also we can go into a target market. It's a group of people or organization for which an organization implements, designs, sets everything up for that company to grow that business. That's what they go at. That's the target mix. That's the targeting strategy. They adopt the ideologies and the philosophies to mass market their product to that target market. They concentrate on strategies to help that market, to build that market, to strengthen that market for them themselves in a capitalistic type of way. Multi-segment targeting is another thing where they go in different facets of the industry to get as much as they can, to get all the sales they can. Another thing I read that kind of interested me from the chapter was cannibalization. And it's kind of funny. It's like when a company has sales of a new product and it's outselling the old product, and its existing products is knocking the existing products off the market. A good example of that would be Sony again, the PlayStation 5. If it would happen if they could provide people with the PlayStation 5s, it's basically cannibalize the PlayStation 4, and Sony is a victim of their own success. That's another dangerous thing with targeting markets. You have to be careful how you target a market, because you can be a victim of your own demise, and it's a very tricky strategy. This chapter was very interesting. I found it interesting. It goes, the book, I guess the targets that you give us, the chapters that you give us, grow into each chapter, and targeted marketing grows from other chapters. I think targeted marketing also relates to business philosophies. It also, the way they target a market also has something to do with the business plan of the business, the philosophies of the business, the cultures of the business to a certain aspect. Because some companies, the CEOs don't respect the buyers of the product that they sell, and some companies do. Some companies are put on a front. Some companies have a marketing scheme where what you see on the outside is what you think it is on the inside, and it's nothing like that. A smart company would do that. I never would see a brand destroy their target market, but we do have examples of that, and I could talk about an example of that would be Hilfiger. When Hilfiger went on the Oprah Winfrey show and said he didn't like certain type of people wearing his clothes, it basically destroyed his company. So I think a lot of companies learn not from what not to do from what they seen Tommy Hilfiger do. You would not see Polo run around and say, I don't like certain individuals wearing my clothes. They probably don't really want those individuals to wear their clothes. However, when they look at their income statement and a financial balancing of their books and what demographic their money's coming from what areas and what type of stores, they'll smile and say thank you. And that's the best thing to do. So target marketing is very important. If you have a wise CEO, he will study his market. He will know where to target his market. If you're a marketing brand or marketing executive and you have a marketing business, it is very essential and very productive, and it would behoove you to market your business towards a certain demographic. I would hire people from that demographic specifically to have a inside knowledge of how to market to these people, how to make it authentic. And I think that's another thing that's dealing with young black people, and not saying ethnic people, young black people. A lot of companies don't really have an inside basic knowledge to the youth nowadays, because the youth do not want to work for them. So they'll take a white kid and say, what do you think the black kids are like with this? And try to sell a product, and it backfires, and it backfires bad, horribly. And I've heard of a lot of companies like that, especially trying to get young youth that's in college to work for them. And a lot of young black kids don't want to work for anybody but themselves. They want to build their own businesses and their own legacies. They want to move a certain type of way. They want to dress a certain type of way. They don't want to be something that they're not. And a lot of companies don't realize that. And I think a lot of these brands will die because they will not adapt and they don't want to conform to the changes in the world. Thank you.